There's nothing quite like homemade yaprakes, Sephardic-Turkish style meat and rice stuffed grape leaves. They may be little, but they pack quite the flavor punch. Sally that girl in the kitchen. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sally That Girl in the Kitchen. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to make yaprakes, Sephardic-Turkish style meat and rice stuffed grape leaves. Yes, absolutely divine stuffed grape leaves. So if you're not familiar with the word yaprak or yaprakes, the plural form, that is the way we call these in Ladino, the language of my ancestors. And so it comes from the Turkish word yaprak, meaning leaf. And of course, you may also be familiar with the word dolmas or dolmades. They're also known by that name from the Turkish word meaning stuffed. But no matter how you know them, or even if you don't know them at all, you're in for quite a treat because these yaprakes are absolutely divine. I'm going to teach you how to make them the same way my grandmothers used to make them, with the same method, the same ingredients, that special Sephardic Turkish flavor that's like no other, and they're delicate and tart and just absolutely divine. You may have been exposed to these if you've eaten at a Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, Turkish, Greek restaurant. All of the countries in that area serve these, and they're known by different names, but they're absolutely divine. And of course, this meat and rice Sephardic Turkish version is my absolute favorite. So I am super excited to teach you how to make them. So let's not wait another second and let's get started. For today's recipe, you will need 1 pound of lean ground beef, a 1/4 cup of white short grain rice. I recommend Valencia rice, a 1/4 cup of chopped parsley leaves, 1 teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, plus another tablespoon, and then yet a 1/3 tablespoon, each of these tablespoons separate. A 1/4 cup of tomato sauce, plus another 2 tablespoons separate. About a 1/2 of a 16-ounce jar of grape leaves. So 16 ounces is the drained weight of the jar, but you're going to be using about 27 or so leaves. 2 cups of water, and 1/3 cup fresh squeezed lemon juice, which should be about a lemon and a half, but of course that can vary depending on how juicy the lemons are. You will also need some oven mitts, a couple of cutting boards, a large knife and a long thin knife, a serving spoon and a couple of kitchen tablespoons, a lemon squeezer, or of course you can squeeze the lemons by hand, a medium-sized bowl, a couple of wet measuring cups, some dry measuring cups, some measuring spoons, a couple of colanders, a medium-sized skillet, and a wooden spoon or something to break up the ground beef as you cook it, some metal tongs, but you can use a serving fork instead if you don't have one, and very important, you want a medium-sized heavy non-stick pot that has an oven-safe lid, and you need a heavy plate that is also oven-safe and that fits inside the pot. And in case you're unfamiliar with what the grape leaves will look like, these are the ones that I use. You can usually find these either at a kosher supermarket or a Greek or Middle Eastern supermarket. And of course, I also have them in my Sally That Girl in the Kitchen Amazon shop. And here is the type of rice, the Valencia or Valencian type rice that I like to use. It's a very short grain and it just fluffs up beautifully, and it's perfect when using to stuff vegetables. Using the right type of rice and how we treat that rice is critical if you want it perfectly fluffy in your filling. So now that we have all of our ingredients and tools together, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is grab your medium-sized skillet and add 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil to it and set your stove on to medium heat. So what we're going to do is we're going to brown the meat first. So we're going to be adding in 1 pound of lean ground beef, and then you're just going to break that ground beef up and you're going to cook it. You want it slightly browned. You don't need to cook it for more than, I'd say, 4 minutes tops, because that's all you're going to need to cook the meat through, and so that it releases some of its liquid and fat. So 3 or 4 minutes and you're good to go. At that point, you want to turn off your heat, and you're going to remove your skillet from the heat. And then what you want to do is you want to bring over a medium-sized bowl, because you're going to be using a serving spoon to just scoop the meat out and then leave behind the liquid and the fat that has been released from the meat. So you are going to discard that liquid and fat and just set your meat aside for now. So now I brought over a large colander to my sink, and I opened up my jar of grape leaves. And in this particular jar, we have 2 big bunches. So I'm only going to be using 1, because we're going to be making about 22 grape leaves. So what you want to do is you want to carefully separate the leaves. And as you go, you just want to rinse them under cold water. So sometimes they're a little tricky to separate. You think you have a single leaf and you have 2. So the best thing is to go to the stem end and then separate the leaves very carefully, because you do not want to rip them. And you are going to notice that some leaves are going to be larger than others. So of course, the nice large leaves we're going to use to roll our yaprakes, and then the smaller leaves we can use to line the bottom of the pan, so they will not go to waste. They're also absolutely delicious, because they're going to be cooked in that delicious sauce and the flavors that we're going to be using to make our yaprakes, so nothing here will go to waste. So then just one by one, rinse them well under your faucet, and then just place them on the edge of your colander until you've separated them all and rinsed them all, and then just allow them to drain. And then I'm going to put these away. I'm going to use them at another date. That's why I didn't pull them out and rinse them, so I can close them up and pop them back in my fridge and use them again in a few days. So now I just want to give this a nice little shake, and then bring over a small colander and measure out a 1/4 cup of that short grain Valencia style rice. And this we also want to rinse. So notice I'm using a colander with a pretty fine mesh so that I don't lose any of that short grain rice. And then I rinse it with the cold water and then shake it, because I'm looking to see, you see how the water is white at the bottom of my sink? We are going to continue to rinse it until the water runs clear. So we're going to do this at least 3 or 4 times, because if when we shake it we still see white coming out, that liquid is still white, then we're going to continue to rinse. So be patient, just do this 3, 4, 5 times, as many as necessary, until the water runs clear. Then set that aside, and you're going to grab a bunch of parsley. So I'm using flat leaf Italian parsley, but you can use curly parsley, whatever you prefer. And I like to cut off most of the stems. It's okay if you leave a little bit of the stems, but most of the stems I remove, and then I chop it really well. The goal is to get about a 1/4 cup. I filled that 1/4 cup real well. Then I'm going to go over to the meat bowl, add in my rinsed rice. That, of course, I shook really well. I got all the starch out. And then I'm going to add also that 1/4 cup of chopped parsley. It's really a well-rounded 1/4 cup. And then I want to just add that in, along with 1 teaspoon of salt. And then right on top of that, you're going to add in 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. And then right on top of that, you're going to add a 1/4 cup of tomato sauce. Make sure you get all that yummy goodness in. And then you're going to use your serving spoon, and you're just going to mix everything together to incorporate the ingredients. Notice these are very simple flavors, but when we bring them together and we add that lemon, something magical happens. So I'm going to switch to a kitchen tablespoon that I'm going to be using for filling. And then I'm going to set this aside for a minute, and I'm going to bring over my beautiful rinsed grape leaves so I can show you what to do with them. So you're going to bring over a cutting board, and notice the stem is sticking up on the leaf. So you're going to want to cut off that stem. So I like to just kind of follow the shape of the leaf and cut so it almost looks like there's a triangle missing at the bottom of our leaf. That's what we're looking for. And you'll also notice that I have these leaves that Some are bigger, some are smaller, but they all follow the same shape. So the concept is the same no matter the size of the leaf. We're going to use the smaller ones to line the bottom of the pan, and the bigger ones are going to be for filling and for rolling. So once you remove the stem off of a few of the smaller leaves, I just line the bottom of the pan to cover the entire bottom. It might take 5, 6 leaves depending on the size, but it doesn't matter if they're facing up or facing down. Just make sure you've removed that stem. And then we're going to go on to filling. So here it does matter the direction of the leaf. You're going to notice one side is completely flat, and then on the opposite side, it's veiny. You feel the veins. So that is the side you always want facing up, because you want a beautiful flat surface when you roll your yaprak. So always the veiny side up and the flat onto your cutting board. Then you're just going to use a kitchen tablespoon, and I like to add a nice tablespoon and let's say a half or so. And then what I do is I kind of set it out into the shape of a log, because that is going to be the shape of my yaprak when I roll it. And then what I do is you start from the bottom. You want to cover that roll. So you're going to start from the bottom. The log of meat has been covered. Then you're going to bring in the leaf as you go from the sides, almost like folding up a burrito, and then just bring in the sides as needed and continue to roll. So I don't like rolling very tightly because the rice inside will grow as it cooks. So yes, you want it tight enough to hold the filling, but not super, super tight, because you do want to leave a little room for growth. And then you want to start adding your yaprakes on the outer perimeter of the pan with the seam side down so they don't open up while they're cooking. So here we're going to do it again, but I'm going to show you I haven't removed the stem. And this is an easy way to figure out which is your veiny side, because usually the stem is sticking up from that veiny side. So once you place the leaf on your cutting board and remove that stem, you're good to go. That's the veiny side up, and you'll notice that the bottom side is the flat side. So then once again, you're going to add about a kitchen tablespoon and a half or so onto the leaf right above that cut out triangle area. And then we're just going to roll. So place it into the shape of a log, come up from the bottom, and then roll over and bring in from the sides as you continue to roll upward and away from you, kind of pulling the leaf towards you as you roll. You see how I'm pushing in the sides of the leaf as I go, and then just rolling up, and then here we go. You're good to go. So remember, when you place these in that pot, you do want them tightly placed next to each other, almost nice and snug. And then you're going to continue adding your yaprakes in a circular pattern until you get a full layer. Then you can start on a second layer until you run out of filling. So in my case, I got 22 rolled yaprakes and probably have about 5 leaves or so at the bottom of the pan. So I used about 27 leaves in total. So now you want to measure out 2 cups of water into a measuring cup and add 2 tablespoons of tomato sauce to it, and then give it all a little stir. Then you want to add 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. Also stir that up just a touch, and then gently you're going to pour some of this over your rolled yaprakes, but not all of it. So you want to add liquid right up until you get right below that last layer of yaprakes. Once the liquid level reaches just underneath that last layer of yaprakes, then right about there you should stop, because we don't want them floating after all as they cook. So that's where the plate is going to come in. So we're going to save this because we are going to add this halfway through cooking on the stove. So set this aside. But for now, we want to add the liquid right about there. And then you're going to grab your heat-safe plate that fits perfectly in the pot, and you're going to add it right on top. Give that all a little squeeze to make sure it's nice and weighted. Add your lid, and then you're going to turn your stove onto either low, or if you have it, even a medium simmer setting. And then you want to turn on a 30-minute timer for the beginning of the cooking process. So at this point, I like to squeeze my lemons and get my beautiful fresh squeezed lemon juice. So as I said, you're looking for about a third of a cup of lemon juice, which in my case was about a lemon and a half, because these lemons are really juicy, and that will be perfectly tart and absolutely delicious. So now you squeeze out your lemon juice and you're going to save that. And now once the 30-minute timer goes off, you're going to turn off the heat, but just for a moment, and very carefully using an oven mitt, remove your hot lid. And then here's where I like to use my tongs, because I'm going to just temporarily remove the heavy plate. And look how beautiful my yaprakes are looking. They've definitely grown. So now is a perfect time to add the rest of that beautiful tomato liquid, since much of the liquid has already been absorbed, so we don't run the risk of these floating. But for good measure, once again, you're going to add your plate right on top. You're going to put your lid right back on, and then you're going to turn your stove on to the same temperature you had it previously, which again was either low or a medium simmer if your stove has that setting. And now you're going to set another 30-minute timer and allow these to continue to cook. And now is a good time to preheat your oven to 350, making sure you have a rack placed in the center. So after 30 minutes have passed, you're going to turn off your heat again, remove your lid, and once again carefully remove your plate, except this time you're going to leave the lid and the plate off, because we are going to finish cooking these in the oven. But before we do so, we're going to add that beautiful fresh squeezed lemon juice, and this is going to really bring the flavors over the top. Wait until you try these. They are phenomenal. So now very carefully, you're going to add them into your oven. And yes, one more time, you're going to add your last 30-minute timer to allow them to finish cooking. And after 30 minutes, you're going to bring them out. And you see how the heat from the oven and the lemon has darkened the leaves a bit. They are going to be so crazy delicious. The camera doesn't do them justice, because I'm telling you, when anyone tries these, they're going to be in awe. They're going to want to know exactly how you made them. And of course, you're going to send them over to Sally That Girl in the Kitchen on YouTube so that they can learn how to make them themselves. But they are so crazy good. They're going to be requested time and time again, as they are here in my home. So I'm going to serve myself conservatively, just a couple of them, which of course is never enough. But just, to keep things under control, let's start with 2 and see what happens. But I'm telling you, the images don't do these justice. When I take a bite into them, you're going to see that beautiful filling with meat and fluffy rice that's cooked perfectly. It's just the perfect balance. And those simple Sephardic-Turkish flavors, they seem very simple, but when you bring them all together, they are over the top delicious. And you'll notice the Sephardic-Turkish don't add a ton of condiments. Other people add allspice or pine nuts. We keep this very, very simple. Of course, you can do that if you want to, but trust me, you cannot go wrong if you make them like this. My mouth is literally watering as I speak because I can't wait to take a bite. Look at that amazing meat and rice filling, just so perfect. Oh my, wow. They surprise me every time, and I don't know why. They are so crazy good. They're tart, yet the leaf is tender. The filling is perfect. It's got the perfect consistency. It's not hard. We didn't roll them really, really tight, so the rice and the filling remain nice and fluffy. They're just so crazy good. Oh my God. This has really got to be one of my favorite things to eat. It's just absolutely divine. I can't get enough. Who was I kidding by serving myself too? So these are small after all. You don't have to feel too guilty, and they're perfect as a little side, even an appetizer. Of course, have some more and make it a meal. They're absolutely delicious. Everyone who tries them is going to love them. Oh, yeah. They're perfect. They're so tart, yet perfectly balanced with that touch of tomato and that parsley. And of course, the delicious grape leaf, the meat, the rice, perfectly tender. The lemon, of course, is the star. Mm. Oh my. See, you can even eat these by hand. They stay together perfectly. Mm. I just can't get enough. Honestly, I'm grabbing another. Who am I kidding? Even as an appetizer, two isn't enough. So maybe double up or triple up on this recipe. So how crazy good do these yaprakes look? The video does not do them justice. They are absolutely divine. And I'm not in the habit of eating with my hands or even eating directly on camera because I don't like to force you to see me chew as I sample what I cook. But I might just make the exception today because I can't stop eating these. So I place some of these in the fridge, and this one is already nice and cold because the good thing about this is you can serve them warm, room temperature, hot, or cold directly out of the refrigerator. And however you serve them, they are absolutely divine. They're super tart and just have that perfect balance of flavors. As I said earlier, that Sephardic-Turkish staple flavor, that's that combination of the lemon and the tomato. It's just absolutely divine. Nothing compares to it. My mouth is literally salivating as I talk about them because they're that good. So I really hope you enjoyed today's recipe. And of course, if you did, be sure to subscribe here on YouTube. Just stop what you're doing, subscribe, touch that little notification bell so that you get notified when I put out more amazing recipes, which I'm doing all of the time. And definitely check out the Sephardic Turkish playlist because I have a ton of Sephardic Turkish food there, but I also have international food. So I have breads, main dishes, side dishes, anything you can think of, desserts, appetizers, whatever you're craving, you're probably going to find it in there because I have hundreds of videos out. So definitely explore. And if you're not following me on social media, be sure to follow me as Sally That Girl in the Kitchen on Facebook, Instagram, and on Pinterest, and also on Threads. And you can find me as Sally That Girl FL on X, Snapchat, and on TikTok. And of course, I also have my Sally That Girl in the Kitchen Amazon shop. But don't worry, because all of that is pinned to the banner on my YouTube channel, and of course pinned at the top of the Sally That Girl in the Kitchen Facebook and Instagram pages. So any link you're looking for, you can find it there. So a lot of the ingredients and tools I use in my videos, I feature in my shop. So if you ever want to explore, you can find all of those links there. So once again, I just want to take a moment to thank you for being here, for watching. I really love that you're watching my videos, that you're cooking, that I inspire you. Trust me, you're going to want to make these because they're beyond delicious. As I always say, trust me. No, better yet, don't trust me. You're going to have to try to make this recipe yourself. You don't want to miss this one. This one is amazing, if I do say so myself. So once again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. So yeah, I'm definitely going to eat this one right now. Mm. Mm, mm, mm. I can't. In the words of my grandparents, oh, this is so crazy good. Sally That Girl in the Kitchen.